If you're too heavily dependent on one particular income stream, you could find yourself at risk should anything happen in the landscape that you're working in. It's a really good idea to think about how you might diversify your income streams so that should the worst happen, you've got something else to fall back on to keep you going. Hi, I'm Katherine at Life in the Third Lane, the channel for charity and non-profit leaders. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about different income stream options for charities and non-profits so that you can think about how you might diversify your income stream. So diversification is a very businessy type term, but all it means is that you no longer exclusively rely on one income source. You have income coming into your organisation from a variety of different sources. The risk is that if you're relying on just one income source and something happens outside of your control that means that that income source is no longer going to provide you with the income that you need, that you're in trouble. To give you some examples of what might happen, if you are reliant on a grant provider and then that grant provider changes its criteria, then you might find that you can no longer access that. If the regulations within your country change and you can no longer do the activities for fundraising that you've relied on up until now, then you'll need to think about how you do things differently. It may be that you heavily rely on individual donations and that actually an economic change means that people no longer have that money in their pocket to be able to afford to donate in the kind of volume that they have previously. So as you can see, all of these things would lead you to being a significant issue with your income if you don't have other sources that you can draw upon and build from. As well as reducing your risk, diversification can also mean that you add on new income streams, so actually increase the amount of income coming into your organisation. It also helps you to develop a wider network of stakeholders, suppliers, supporters in all manner of different types who you can work with and build that network that you need to be a successful organisation. So I'm going to go through 20 different types of income that your organisation might want to look at. Each organisation is different, so the mix of the different types of income that are going to work for your organisation are going to be unique to you. But hopefully you'll find something useful in this list. So grants are number one, and they're non-repayable amounts of money given to you by a funder, usually for a specific purpose and not so commonly for general running costs. What this means is that they're what's known as a restricted fund, so you can only spend them on the thing that you've agreed you're going to spend them on. So grant funding is great, there's masses of different grants out there, but there's definitely more people applying for them than getting them. So for each one you need to really think about the amount of time that you've got to put into the grant application and whether or not that grant is really aligned to your organisation. So each funder will have its criteria and you've got the best possible chance where your organisation or your project aligns really specifically with that grant provider. So we'll do some more content in the future on securing grants, but it's a great first place to think about getting income. The next group of ideas are all fundraising. So we'll start with individual donations. So these are one-off donations from an individual. They might be done online, they might be done through a gifting platform or through another platform like social media, and they might just be money thrown into a bucket. But they're one-off donations of a reasonably small amount of money from a supporter. Although they're small amounts of money, they can really add up if you get a lot of people doing it. So the next fundraising idea is regular donation, which is a similar thing, except that people sign up to give you a regular amount of money. So this might be a few pounds or dollars every month, which soon adds up over a time period, but it's really affordable for the person doing the donating. It's also great for charities and non-profits because it means that you've got a regular source of income rather than having kind of more peaks and troughs. Number 4 is events. And these are the kind of events where they're fundraising events for people to come along, have a great time and raise money for your charity or non-profit at the same time. So it might be dinner and dances or charity auctions or a race night. There's all manner of different types of events that you can put on, and they can be a really great way for people to have a really good time, raise some money, and for them to have a really positive experience with your organisation. Number 5 on this list is sponsored events and challenges. So people challenge themselves throughout their lives for various different reasons. It might be to run a marathon or to do a parachute jump or something smaller than that. But either way, they ask their family and friends to sponsor them to do that thing, and then that money is donated to a charity. So actually the fundraising is done by your supporters, but you still get the benefit of the income. And there are loads of platforms that can really help with that to make it easier, like Just Giving. But it's definitely worth being aware of what the regulations are in your location, because sometimes you need to have approved the fundraising activity before it happens. Next one is lotteries and gaming. And again, it's definitely worth checking what the regulations are in your area, because you might find that in some locations you can do this and some you can't. But lotteries can be a really great way to raise some funds for your organisation, again, in a fun way. They work by you taking money from people, and then a proportion of that money is given back in terms of prizes, and the rest of it is a donation to the cause. So these are often done on a regular basis, where people might donate or take part monthly or quarterly in a lottery. Sometimes you might do it on an annual basis and have a bigger lottery, but they can be a really effective way to bring in income into your organisation. The next one, number 7, is major gifts. Now, this is also individual donations, but these are of a much bigger size. So it's often said that 80% of the income from donations comes from 20% of the people. So these donors are giving you a larger sum of money, and actually they really need a different experience. So when you're donating a larger sum of money, you are more likely to be engaged with that organisation, that cause, and you really want to build as an organisation a way of continuing that conversation with that person to enable them to get closer to your organisation and to build a deeper relationship, and that's called stewardship. It's a really important part of major gifts. Number 8, and our final fundraising category, is legacies, and these are also known as gifts in wills or bequests, and really they are where people agree as part of their will that they are going to give a proportion of their money to you when they die. And this might be a specific amount of money, it might be a proportion of the amount of money, so a percentage, or it might be that anything left over once everything else has been done and gifts have been given, that will all come to the charity. Now, legacies are an absolutely fantastic way to raise money for your organisation, but you have to think that they are really future looking. So yes, they can bring in a lot of income for you, but you need to do the work and invest that time in that process at the beginning, and then you might not see that results from that for many, many years. So the next group of activities are paid for services. Now, the first one might be a little controversial. So number 9 is memberships. Now, these are where people, if you've got a membership model at your organisation, they will pay a regular membership and then they'll get some kind of value back for that. Now, what that value looks like will depend on your organisation. And some people will consider this donation rather than a paid for service. But when you call it a membership, the expectation is that you will get something, whether that is discounts on services or products, whether it is that you can access events that are exclusive, or whether you get some kind of recognition, whether it's certificates or badges or something which shows your membership of the organisation and your support. But you need to think about what that value is that you're going to give back as part of that membership. Number 10 is that if you offer a service through your organisation, that you can ask people to pay what they can towards it. So this is a great way of encouraging people to contribute whilst not discounting anyone from being able to take part because of financial reasons. So if people can't afford to, then they don't have to. But those people who can might want to contribute towards the running of the services or events that you're organising to deliver benefit to your community. And number 11 is just really offering a paid for service. So this might be where the service that benefits people, they pay for to cover the costs of that. It might also be sometimes that someone else will be paying for that on behalf of the people who benefit. So particularly around healthcare services, it may be that the local health authority is paying the charity to provide the services to the beneficiaries. So it's not the people who are benefiting who pay, but it is the health service who pays for that provision of service. So it's absolutely okay for your services to be charged for and to cover their costs. So the next section we're going into is corporate, and this is where you work in a partnership of some description with a for-profit organisation. So the first one is in corporate giving, and this is where a company will give your organisation a donation. So it's non-repayable and there's no expectation that you're going to give them anything in return for that donation. However, donating to charity and non-profit organisations forms part of a lot of organisations' corporate social responsibility agendas. So there is a real opportunity to get donations from corporate partners. However, you do need to make sure that there's a good alignment between the company and your organisation in terms of your values, and think about what the impact of taking that donation might have if it's a less reputable company. So whilst it's great, there are some things you need to consider when going down that road. The next corporate type arrangement is sponsorship. And unlike a donation, there is an expectation that the company will get something back for the money that they give you. So they might sponsor an event or some kind of activity or a project, and most of the time what they want in return is marketing. So that is that they're clearly stated as a sponsor, and they might require you to do some kind of public engagement activity as a requirement of that sponsorship. So it's not just money with no expectation of return. The third one in the corporate space, and number 14 on this list, is kind of partnerships and cause marketing. Now this is where there is an agreement and an ongoing arrangement between a non-profit and a for-profit organisation. Now this might be where you see something like, for every time this product is purchased, we will donate a certain amount of money to this cause. Now that is cause marketing, and that is a partnership. So these again can be a really, really great way to earn some regular income through this partnership. It's great for the organisation because it's great for their reputation. It's great for your organisation because you're getting that income. However, again, you need to make sure there's a really good alignment and that the whole partnership makes sense to people, because otherwise it can be a bit jarring or won't necessarily achieve the aims that you're hoping to. Number 15 is payroll giving, and this is where through the payroll process, employees donate a certain amount of money every month to a charity or non-profit of their choice. So this is all organised through the payroll giving, and depending again on location, there might be tax benefits to donating in this way. It can be for a fixed amount of money, or it can even just be for like the pennies or the cents left at the end of your pay each month. The final kind of corporate giving is around employee fundraising. And this is where the employees will organise and fundraise and then donate that money to a specific charity. A lot of organisations will choose to have a charity of the year or someone that they have a longer term relationship with, and their employees are encouraged to fundraise for them throughout the year. Again, it's quite often part of the corporate social responsibility agenda. You can also find this works well across a multitude of different companies with a specific day, and some really great examples like Jeans for Jeans Day or Christmas Jumper Day, which raise money across a variety of different companies for one specific charity. We're into the last few now, and these are more in the commercial space. So the first of these is to sell some products. So you might find that actually you can run a small online shop which sells products that are relevant to your organisation. So as an animal charity, you might sell books about animals. As an environmental charity, you might have a shop that sells eco products. But basically, it's a commercial for-profit enterprise, but those profits then go towards supporting the activities of the charity or non-profit. Number 18 is to sell branded products. And this is where you put your brand on products and then sell those to your supporters. It's not only a great way for people to support your organisation, but actually it's another great way to market your organisation, because other people will see your brand on these products, hopefully, as your supporters are using them. The final one in this area is to think about any services that you might be able to sell. So if you, say, have a building or you have some space, actually, could you rent that out to other people? when you're not using it to try and bring in some additional income into your organisation. And finally, number 20 is a slightly different type of income, and that's actually repayable and loan income. Now, this can often be somewhere that charities are really uncomfortable with going and non-profits don't really want to go down that road, but loan income can be really, really helpful to front load things. So if you've got a great idea which you know is going to be really successful and bring in loads of money, but you need to invest up front, then actually, like any organisation, loan finance can be the right thing for you. And there are loans out there that are specifically tailored to non-profits and can offer slightly better rates. But it does mean you do have to repay it. You have to be absolutely sure that you're going to be able to, and you're going to have to be sure that you can afford to pay not only to repay the loan, but also the interest that will be charged. There you have it, 20 different ways to bring in income into your organisation so that you can think about whether you diversify your income streams and reduce that risk. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do like and subscribe so you get all of our future content. I'd also really love to see any comments or questions you've got in the comment box below. That would be great. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week and keep on changing the world.